Zree. Shark. Place your bets. How many current viewers in this stream do you think has fallen asleep due to me reading these things? I'm kind of curious. NieR and Vice racked their brains, but could find no easy solutions. There were simply too many words to consider, too much random chatter, too many meaningless conversations.
Grimoire Vice does not engage in meaningless conversations.
I do think you do, Book. The mere suggestion that Vice chose his words carelessly seemed to sting his pride.
It does not seem to sting my pride, you bloated gasbag of a narrator.
You wanna fight, bro?
It has demolished it utterly.
Okay. Irritated, Vice looked skyward, as if searching for answers in the heavens.
I was doing no such thing. Just leave me alone already.
The anger created by his harsh words bled over to NieR like a contagion. Wait, said NieR suddenly. Did someone just say contagion? Yes, I believe so. What of it? Well, the villager told us to watch out for contagious words, right? The mayor leaned forward with renewed interest, pushing a startled Vice aside in the process. He must have said something, right? Asked the mayor. Some specific combination of words. What was it? It was about dreaming, or something that dreams, or... What the hell was it? A sheep? Cried Vice suddenly, blurting out the first thing that popped into his head. The others stared at him for a moment before slowly shaking their heads. After a few more minutes of thought, NieR's face suddenly lit up. I remember, he said. Those who dream. That's what he said. I'm sure of it. At this, the mayor produced a thick sheaf of papers from his pocket. He flipped through them a few times before finally nodding his approval at NieR. That sounds right, he said, as a stray sheet of paper fluttered to the ground. My notes also mentioned something about that. I bet it was the last thing you heard before you fell asleep. The mayor shook his head, his worn pencil stub tracing lines across a lone piece of paper. For the last month, I've done nothing but study the disease we call the death dream, he said. I mean, I'm the mayor, right? It's my job to protect the people from whatever comes along. But I never expected a couple of outsiders to start entering people's dreams. The mayor paused, a grimace crossing his face. I should probably be taking notes or something. Vice immediately fired back. I applaud the force of will it takes to research a disease in your dreams, he said. But perhaps we should bend your efforts to escaping this place instead of trying to understand it. The mayor's hand tightened around his pencil, snapping off the tip. I have tried to escape. From the very first moment I realized I was locked inside my own dream, I've been looking for a way out, but I don't think it exists. I mean, this is my dream, right? If there was an exit, I'd known about it. He paused for a moment, his unfocused eyes staring at nothing. My village was beautiful, he said to no one in particular. And it was filled with the most wonderful people you could ever hope to meet. But once this disease took hold, things change. It's like someone took a sponge and soaked all the color out of our lives. I just want us to be whole again. I want us to be free. And I won't stop trying until it happens. NieR nodded in agreement. Huh, wait a second, I didn't nod. Look, if we can be of any help, said NieR, just ask. Now, hold on, I did not just say that. Silence, cried Weiss. The grimoire looked from NieR to the mayor and back again, his face filling with confidence. Grimoire Weiss's face is always confident, thank you very much. Now you see here, Mayor, you told us nothing can exist in this dream without you knowing about it. But yet, you seemed surprised to see us when we first arrived, yes? The mayor slowly raised his head, realization dawning on his face. Oh my god, he said. You're right. You're right. I had no idea you were coming. The human imagination is a limitless engine, said Weiss, and dreams are the fuel. If you can imagine an exit, then it must be so. With your permission, we shall search it out. Thank you, said the mayor. I don't know how I can repay you. Payment is not required. We are as eager as you to be done with this place. The mayor suddenly felt as if he could breathe again. He'd almost forgotten what it was like. Good luck, you two, he called at the departing forms of NieR and Weiss. We're all counting on you. As NieR slowly faded into the misty forest, the mayor was struck by a sense of déjà vu. I saw this man once before, he thought. But where? NieR's mood darkened as he trudged through the forest. Hours earlier, when the beauty of the place was still a new thing, he'd been confident they could get in, find the exit, and be home in time for dinner. But the deeper they went, the more the forest closed in around him. The mist made it difficult to see more than a foot in any direction, and moss-covered rocks seemed to be determined to twist his ankle. More than once he'd been forced to steady himself on the rough bark of a tree, and his hands now felt small trails of blood on everything he touched. Additionally, Weiss was proving to be a spectacularly poor traveling companion. Unhindered by either terrain or physical effort, he spent most of his time urging NieR to pick up the pace, and grumbling about their slow progress. Finally, after Weiss muttered something about legless turtles being more adept at navigating the environment, NieR snapped. Okay, Weiss, cram it for a second, would you? You don't have to walk. NieR leaned against a tree and tried to stretch the knots from his back. How can this stupid forest be so big? He muttered to himself. The moment the words tumbled from his mouth, a cacophony of insects sprang to life. Every imaginable form of buzz, click, and hiss roared out at a volume that rattled his teeth. NieR slapped his hands over his ears and screamed to be heard. Weiss? What's going on? NieR could see Weiss's mouth moving, but he might as well have been shouting in a tornado. The insects screamed. The forest howled. And then, just as NieR's ears seemed to be ready to tear out from his head and go running for cover, the sound diminished. Hesitantly, he removed his hand from his left ear and listened to the creatures of the woods. Zree, 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 zree. Shark, shark, shark. As the insect symphony dimmed another decibel, NieR began to detect patterns in the sound. This isn't random, he thought. It's not just white noise. It's something else. The insects weren't just calling out. They were asking a question. 1 with it is lacking. 2 with it is ideal. 3 with it is dangerous. What is it? By my pages, is this a riddle? I guess so. I mean, it feels sort of forced, but maybe it's the key to getting out of this place. Then I leave it to you to answer. 1 with it is lacking, 2 with it is ideal, 3 with it is dangerous. What is it? The answer is a secret. Inwardly furious that Vice left the task to him, NieR sighed and gave the only answer that made sense. It's a secret, right? The sound of insects stopped as suddenly as it began. The forest undergrowth parted before NieR, like a rippling wave, opening a new path. These forest anthropods are making a road for us, Vice said with glee. Pleased at passing the test, NieR moved on with new intensity. The path offered his body relief from the undergrowth, but gave even greater cheer to his mind. As long as they were on a path, their journey had a purpose. I guess the forest has accepted us, huh? NieR said after a bit. Vice spun around to face his companion. Do not mistake the will of this forest for some happy pet you can suddenly befriend. We have no idea where this path leads. As Vice finished speaking, the pair turned a corner and found themselves facing a clear forest spring. Smiling, NieR picked up a small rock and sent it skipping across the surface of the water. Good heavens, said Vice. His surprise was understandable. Each time the rock struck the surface of the water, a musical note rang out. When the rock finally stopped moving and sank to the bottom of the spring, the ripples it left behind came together to form words. I enter through the window, but I break no glass. When night falls, I vanish. What am I? Absurdly easy, balked Vice. Now answer it. NieR grit his teeth and tried not to reach out to strangle his companion. He's right. After all, this one is pretty easy. I enter through the window, but I break no glass. When night falls, I vanish. What am I? Sunlight. A plume of water suddenly burst from the spring. Sunlight filtered through the trees and reflected off the plume, creating a shimmering rainbow that spanned the entire horizon. In all my years, said Vice softly, I have never seen such a sight. Perhaps I have misunderstood the intentions of this place. Hey, look! Cried NieR, awakening Vice from his daze. There's a house or something over there. Glancing in the direction of his friend's extended hand, Vice saw a small cottage nested among the trees. That's weird, isn't it, Vice? I mean, who'd build a house all the way out here? NieR walked over and pounded on the door. After a minute of solid banging, the door cracked open and a small man peered out. His body was cloaked from neck to toe in a large black cape, while his face was obscured by mist. Began NieR, but before he could get any further, the cloaked man held a hand up and began speaking. I have 4 legs in the morning, 2 at noon, but end the night with 3. What am I? NieR tried to ask the cloaked man who he was and what he was doing here, but he simply repeated the question. If we were to engage this man in conversation, said Vice, it seems we must answer his riddle. Yeah, I suppose, said NieR. Well, I guess it's an easy one. I have 4 legs in the morning, 2 at noon, but end the night with 3. What am I? A man, a demon, an angel. A man, right? I feel like that's true, right? Why would it be a demon or an angel? A man. The mist dissolved from the cloaked figure as he spoke a single word. Correct. With that, the man flung his garment aside, revealing his true identity. You're the mayor! Cried NieR. The small man slowly shook his head. I am not the mayor you know. Now listen to my words. Long ago, I saw a version of you that was not yourself. Sorry? What's that mean? It will make sense in time. At present, I simply congratulate you on cracking the seal to the death dream. Now I must go to the person at the forest entrance. With that, the man turned on his heel and slammed the door behind him. As NieR watched, mist seeped up from the ground and enveloped the cottage, erasing it from existence. When NieR and Vice returned to the forest entrance, they found the mayor leaning against a tree. As soon as he caught sight of the duo, he sprang to his feet and scrambled over to them. Good gravy, he cried. You made it! You actually made it back! His left hand grasped NieR's and pumped it so fiercely it threatened to dislodge from the socket, while his right seized Vice by the cover and swung him through the air. Gah, by the heavens! Stop shaking me, fool! We have not even told you if we were successful or not. The mayor smiled broadly and shook his head. I'm just happy you're alive. I didn't think I'd ever see you again. NieR withdrew himself from the mayor's eager handshake with a slight smile. We broke the death dream seal, he said. At least, I think we did. The mayor's face beamed as NieR filled him in on the details. When the tale was done, the three of them laid down on the forest ground and fell asleep. NieR cocked his head. Okay, hang on a second. This is crazy. Why would we just lay down and go to sleep? Cease your endless prattle and go to sleep, fool. Fighting against the rules of this place is futility itself. NieR and the mayor obediently reclined atop the grassy earth. Have you forgotten, continued Vice, it is words that control the death dream, words that allow us to move from place to place. No matter how unnatural they seem, the words are absolute. Therefore, if the words tell us to sleep, then sleep we shall. And once we do, the story will continue. With that, the trio found their eyes growing heavy, their breath slowing. This is the first time, began the mayor, the first time I have felt tired since I was imprisoned here. His words were cut off by a loud, long yawn, and he remembered nothing more. They might have slept for an hour or a year. When they awoke, things had a slightly more real quality to them. The mist felt thicker, the leaves greener. It was clear that they had awakened from their dream. NieR shook the mayor's shoulder gently. Good news, he said. I think we made it. Oh, wow, said the mayor in an awed voice. We did. I'm back. He blinked once, and then again, as if not quite believing the sight before him. You two have no idea how much this means. The death dream was spreading throughout our village, and I wanted to, well, I thought I could figure out how to stop it, but I guess that wasn't the case. I must have caught the disease and become trapped in my own dream. The mayor started to stand, then collapsed back on the earth. He stared at his leg, as if trying to remember how they worked, and glanced at NieR and shrugged. Without a word, the young man reached down and pulled the mayor to his feet. Real life may take some getting used to, said the mayor, as a wry smile crossed his lips. You shall relearn in short order, I'm sure, said Weiss. For now, you should return to your home and rest. No, said the mayor, swaying on unsteady feet. No, I can't. Some of the villagers are still trapped in the death dream. I have to save them. The mayor slowly made his way to the divine tree in the center of the village and bowed his head and prayed silently. This is a holy tree, he explained when the prayer was finished. It's the guardian of our village history and memories. Superstition will only make our mission harder, muttered Weiss. We should not put our faith in gods. The mayor shook his head. Not the gods, the words. Legends say that our tree is home to a powerful magic known as a sealed verse. NieR and Weiss could not contain their surprise. It seemed a goal had been found in the most unexpected of places. I say, muttered Weiss, this is certainly a stroke of luck. As the three of them said their goodbyes, NieR mentioned the strange man who had given them the third riddle and the mysterious words he had left them with. I once saw a version of you that it was not yourself, muttered the mayor. What in the world does that mean? Lost in thought, he stared into space for a long moment. You know, he said softly, this is going to sound odd, but I had a feeling I'd seen you before too. NieR tried to keep a straight face and failed, but the mayor didn't seem to notice. Deja vu, right? Eventually, I figured it's just some kind of illusion created by the death dream. It probably doesn't mean anything. NieR and the mayor gave a nod and a smile, but inwardly his thoughts were racing. There's something wrong about the mayor and his words, and exactly what exactly is going on here? That riddle would prove to be the most difficult one of all. Oh, I just realized that you guys are in the way. I'm so sorry. We're putting you down here for now. During story time, you guys get to sit here. Actually, you know what? Let me just do this real quick. Let's have you guys here. Here for now. Here's where you will be for the story time. I breathe air scented with death and resist the urge to laugh, for I know how it will sound like the words of a madman. How long have I been in this fresh hell? My box, my prison, is tucked beneath a stairway in the long unused catacombs of some infinite castle. Outside, I hear the sounds of a funeral dirge that plays without end. Light has no place here. Wind is a forgotten friend. I pray for death to come, but he forsakes me. Time passes, and eternity slips in a single tick of the clock. Someone knocks on my prison. Anyone there? I hear an unfamiliar voice say. My savior. I claw at the door of my jail, embedding thick splinters under my ragged nails. I scream for help. I laugh. I sob. Surely this is a product of my addled mind. Surely it cannot be true. Help me, I cry. For the love of all the gods, help me. Impossibly, I hear the sound of a lock being torn out and falling to the floor. As the door slowly creaks open, I have just enough time to see a silver-haired boy and a floating book before the light pours inside. My eyes, accustomed to blackness, explode with pain, and I'm forced to turn away. Who are you? I ask, shaking hands covering my face. How have you come to this place? I am Grimoire Weiss. This is NieR. Long have we been searching for you. Now come, stand. We shall awaken from this nightmare together. The one known as NieR extends his hand and pulls me from the cell. Though my eyes are slow to adjust to freedom, my ears are as keen as ever. They recognize the staccato sounds of heavy rain. Heavy rain? Jason? I never thought I'd to hear that again, I whisper. Would that this were not such a terrible storm, said Grimvar Weiss. Look at your feet. I force my eyes open and see water pooling around my ankles and lapping at my shins. There's so much of it. Yes, and more comes with every moment we delay. If we do not make good our escape, we shall all drown in the castle. We know you are weak, but you are our only hope to survive this place. Time, that long-forgotten friend, made itself known again. I nodded my head and swore to save my rescuers, no matter the cost. The castle catacombs are a maze, twisting upon themselves like an endless entrails of a giant. I squint down the dim corridors and proceed north. At the end of the corridor, I find a row of 20 gorgeous canopied beds resting atop a carpet of velvet. All are covered in a thick layer of dust and cobwebs. Searching for the door to the next room, I come upon a shapeless mass of gray matter. It has been shoved against the side of the wall, and despite my fever, I think I see the outlines of a door just beyond. When I reach out a finger and touch a piece of the mass, it turns to dust and drift away on the wind. Realization slowly dawns, and I fall to my knees and weep. Corpses. I face a mountain of charred and crumbling corpses. I look from the beds and back again until the horror dawns full upon me. Someone has piled these bodies into a tower and set them ablaze. Whether they were alive or dead, I do not know, and sanity will not permit me to consider the proposition further. I make a sound, whether scream or laughter I cannot be certain. Then my mind grants me merciful blackness, and I find myself opening the door and leaving that most terrible of rooms. I squint down the dim corridors and proceed east. Oh crap. North? I squint down the dim corridors. I don't know about this one. East? No, west. Maybe? At the end of the path, a row of heavy wooden casks lie on their sides in a dark chamber. Doubtless, they are filled with wine. My thirst roars to life. I cannot remember the last time my parched throat had relief. I scramble to the first cask and pull frantically at the cork. My bad. The theft of a few cups means nothing, I tell myself. The casks will be ruined by the flood regardless. Finally, the cork surrenders to my attack, and thick red liquid bursts forth from the hole. This is no wine. This is blood still warm from the body. Whether animal or something else, I cannot say. The foul liquid soon mixes with the rising flood waters, creating a warmth that laps against my thighs. By all the gods, are the rest of these casks filled with blood as well? I lack the courage to confirm my suspicion. Disgust quickly becomes fear as I turn to flee, but my weakened legs betray me, sending me toppling into the red ocean below. The smell of death is everywhere. It threatens to consume me. I must escape this hell. Crawling on all fours like an animal, holding back screams lest any foulness enter my mouth, I lurch forward through the red waters and out of the room to freedom. I squint down the dim corridors and proceed east. Maybe I should continue east? Maybe north? Let's try north. At the end of the path, the waters rise to my waist, exhausting me both physically and spiritually. I pray that this is the way out. Eventually, I can stand the sight of the waters no longer, and so turn my eyes upward. Imagine my surprise when I see a series of paintings hanging on the faded plastered wall. Each depicts a person in the prime of life, clad in clothing of the highest quality. The styles, however, are strange to me, leading me to believe that these people had lived long, long ago. One subject wears an outfit that particularly catches my eye. It's constructed by a thin, breezy cloth, decorated with a motif of flowers and birds. While encircling the figure's waist is a leather belt of the most perfect construction. It is a stunning costume even by modern standards. I gaze at the portrait. I am struck by a desire to touch it with my own hands. Yet, as I extend a single finger to the painting, I am gripped by a most unpleasant feeling. Staring closely at the image, I see it bend and warp into the shape of another finger. Something behind the picture is pointing at me. Is it another prisoner? A fellow inmate trapped for eternity in this place? I cannot let it pass, and so I seize the portrait with both hands and throw it into the water. The wall is hollow behind the painting, and inside I can just make out a body. Whether or not this is a prisoner, there would be no rescue. The poor soul is long dead. Scraps of clothing lie on the floor around the bones. Only a small amount of the fabric has survived, but it features the same delicate designs that were depicted in the portrait. I've been admiring a row of corpses, blocked from view by portraits of each victim at their pinnacle. Enough. Shielding my eyes, I paddle forward through the water. I squint down the dim corridors and proceed south. It has to be east. Right? We tried west, we tried north. Surely it must be east. At the end of the path, I find myself in a great hall with only the sounds of rain for comfort. The waterlogged red carpet squishes beneath my feet as I approach the center of the room. Once there, I behold a beautiful dining table upon which rests china and silver of the finest construction, as well as the remains of a fantastic feast. As my eyes continue to adjust, I see many chairs surrounding the table, each holding a dinner guest. Noticing movement, I approach the chair at the table's head, but as the truth of the matter draws on me, I recoil in horror. The host of the feast is a corpse, as are all the invited guests. An army of foul, wriggling insects have made homes in the remains, and this is the movement I saw. This once splendid feast was now nothing more than a requiem for the damned. I take a moment to steady my shaking hands, and then slowly back away from the table. Desperate to lose sight of the abomination before me, my gaze lands upon the chairs upon which the dead were seated. This is a mistake, for the chairs prove to be even more terrible than the feast itself. Each one is covered with a layer of spikes that run from the seat, up the back, and down the arms. This explains the color of the carpet beneath my feet. I can only pray that the unfortunate diners were dead when the meal began. For if not, it is a simple task to envision the agonized screams that must have sprung forth from their mouths. My mind grasps frantically at the possibility that these souls had committed some terrible crime for which this was punishment. Though in truth I suspect they had committed no crime at all. There would be no tomorrow for these unfortunates, This was their last supper. I squint down the dim corridors and head west, north. North, maybe? The water has risen to my chin and now laps greedily at my mouth and nose. "You dumb bastard!" shouts NieR. He surely desires to say more, but the rest of his insult is cut short by the rising water. Grimoire Vice, wet and tattered, floats on the water's surface. It is already too late for him. This wasn't how it was supposed to end. Against all hope, we make it to the front door. "Break it down!" someone cries, and so I give myself to the effort. In tandem with NieR and Grimoire Vice, I slam my body against the thick, sturdy door. On the third try, it gives way, and we find ourselves sprawled on the ground outside the castle. The storm is in retreat. The clouds above are still dark and foreboding, but to the west, I can see a thin shimmer of sunlight trying to break through. "How can I thank you?" I cry as tears of joy rain down my cheeks. "I would surely have died in there." Looking down, I suddenly notice that my dress is in tatters, and sheepishly, I try to cover my exposed skin. "Your dress?" asks Vice. "Then you're a woman, madame?" "I am." "Oh, I didn't realize until now." I proffer at the two with a smile. "I suppose that comes as something of a surprise, seeing as how I only exist in the form of words." I can see that the one known as NieR is disappointed that the torn dress will be given no further description, but he hides it well. With a nod and a shrug, the three of us set forth to our awakening. But behind us, an awakening of another kind is taking place. Black smoke fills the abandoned castle, providing the countless damned souls inside with their final shroud. After a moment, the castle's windows shatter with a mighty roar. A fresh breeze blows through the hallways and corridors, clearing the smoke away for good. As we watch in awe, uncountable black shadows slowly flicker to life, crossing to and fro in front of the broken windows. The castle's dead have awakened to their new life as shades.